Under good management, if you want to go into dairy production, we are capable of doing it in this country. You can manage the animals, feed them well, and they can give you good milk. And we can reduce import of milk in this country. Let's go to the next slide. And we need forage species. And as an institute, we have so many forage species. I'm just showing you some of the leguminous. Well, unfortunately, as a country, we don't understand the science we do. People come to our land and they said, we want places to build and you are keeping things for livestock. And they've now raided our whole building. In fact, they took bulldozers and graded all species. There are certain species that in this country, we are the only people who have them. They are all gone. Species that we've worked on for about 30 years, we've developed them. They've become adaptable to our environment. They are adaptable to our climate, and we want to push the livestock rearing thing forward. So we have to develop seeds from these species. They are all gone. You go to our Pokwasi station, graders, they were working like no man's business. They cleared all our pasture lands. And we've lost species that we will never be able to recover. Fortunately, we have some few on our museum plots. So these are museum plot species. And we have these things, but they can still be used. And if you want seeds, we can still be able to get you some seeds. Those we don't have, we'll find a way of getting you planting material. Let's go to the next. Now, because of the challenges of feeding all year round, we've developed what we call the multi-nutritional feed block. And Charles was the one who worked on that, and he developed this. So you can have this to feed to your small ruminants, to your large ruminants all year round if you want to supplement or you want to feed them during the dry season. Then we have pelleted feed, which we've pelletized for large ruminants. You can feed them and you can have intensive and semi-intensive system. Let's go to the next slide. Now, let me talk about the non-ruminants. I hope I'm not boring you now. Okay, very soon I'll be done. But when I get passionate about the ruminants, but I can assure you the non-ruminants, I'll just go quick. Peter will not be happy with me, but he said, okay. So at the research institution, we have the pig breeding center. And what we do is, let's go to the next slide. We keep our boys, that's the male, and our sows. And for a good pig production, you need good males and good females. And females, you see the teats there, a number of them. They should be well developed so that when they farrow, they'll be able to take care of their piglets or their offspring. And this enterprise, a young man was on Bernard's show, like I mentioned, and he was talking about learning the skills from animal research. And he's now into pig production, and he's doing big-time pig production. I'll call him a small-scale producer, but he's happy with what he's getting. This, we did the economics for someone, and we showed the progression. And we told him, you see, before you even think, he didn't want to go into a medium to large scale. And we said, you see, before you go into it, let's look at the marketing side of things first. Because you don't want to produce and you have 500 pigs on hand and you don't have the market for them. The market is there, but if you don't strategize and you don't work out your market, you could produce them and they are ready and you are not ready for them. They produce, their gestation period is just about 3 months, 3 weeks, 3 days, 3 hours. So within that period, they've given you about 12 to 14 liters. And they'll grow quickly. Within 5 months, they are ready for the table. So you need to prepare before you even start. You think of going to it, you need to look for your market and start making sure that, how am I going to handle it? And I'll talk about the value addition. Some of you may not want to go into the production, but you want to add value. You want to be along the value chain. You want to process it. So someone will produce, you want to process it, you want to supply to the supermarkets and to the consumers. So let's go. We have developed a technology, and this one, you can do pig production by your neighbor, and your neighbor will not be angry with you. We use the Indigenous microorganism technology. You use microorganism, and in this technology, instead of having the concrete floor, we have the wood shavings and the sun dust as our substrate, and you treat the substrate, that's the wood shavings and the sun dust, as part of the feed for the livestock. You treat it with the microorganisms, the animals eat it, and you feed them, but they also consume that one, because the microorganisms break the cellulose, like what happens in the rumen. The cellulose is broken down and becomes nutrients for the animal. In the same way, the cellulose is broken and becomes feed for the pigs. So you reduce your feeding cost. You don't need to be washing them every day like the concrete floor when you have to be scrubbing it every day. This one, you don't need to scrub every day. They will be there, and you reduce the labor cost, you reduce the time for maintaining them, and you will be able to produce within the city. And no one will even know that you are producing pigs, because there will be no stench, nothing. Yes. You can come to our center, our research station. If you think I'm lying, I'm hyping it, come there. See, let's look at the next slide. Come and look at this structure and smell it, and we'll take you to the structure that is close by, that we use the conventional method. We maintain good hygiene, so you won't even smell it. But over here, you won't even know you are close to a pig production center, because no stench. And we can use the same technology if you are in a neighborhood and the assemblyman wants, there's a public toilet, and the saint has been attracting the watches seller. You can call us and say, assemblyman, go and see animal research. They have technology to bring down the odor in your public toilets. We can handle that as well. Thank you. Let's use the next slide. The poultry industry. I'll talk quickly about the three. You know the traditional chicken. That is what Gabriel wakes up every morning and talks about, the chicken. So we do layer and the broiler chicken as well. Then next slide, please. Then now quails became a thing. So we had to go into quail. I told you we respond. We sometimes drive the industry, and sometimes we respond to what the industry is, and we want to answer the questions. So we're trying to reduce the feeding cost of the quails. And these guys, within 4, 6, 8, when they are hatched, 6 weeks, they've started laying. They've started laying. And they can lay for 2 years continuous. You see, they are not teenage pregnancy, but they are also. Yeah. So you can farm them, but the issue I always tell people is that before you go into any venture, know your market. You see, everybody had quails. Then they started forming, then they produce the eggs. Then, you see, sometimes we hype certain things. Let people understand. Yes, people, they were focusing so much on the medicinal aspect of the eggs. The eggs are nutritious. Focus on the nutrition. Of course, it has some other advantages. Let's talk more about the nutrition of it. Let people know that you can just cook one egg, throw it in your mouth, and it's gone. You can throw another 3, 4, and you are gone. Instead of having one egg that you keep biting, this one you throw, and you are gone. So talk about certain things like that, and let people know that, yes, it has benefit. And you don't need large space to produce this. You need a small space, and you have your quails in there. Let's look at the turkeys. So Gabriel is looking at the domestic turkeys. You see, the exotic ones, they produce large body size, and sometimes they are too big. And you know, turkey meat is funny. You have all kinds of meat in one body. You have the white meat on the chest, you have the red meat on the thigh, you have the blue on the green. Oh, sorry, there's nothing like that. But you have all kinds of funny. I'll tell you, I ate turkey. If you also ate the breast, and I ate the thigh, the tastes are different. The same meat, different taste, different appearance, different things. So you can use maybe the thigh. I usually like grilling the thigh, and that's my favorite. My wife likes the breast. She said it's very meaty and all that. I don't like the breast. So you can have one, but you see, usually it's so big. I remember in Canada, we buy turkey and it's like a whole goat. And we usually target it winter when we have outside the free freezer outside. So it's usually cheaper Thanksgiving. So we buy about 5 and we keep it outside because I think the temperature is minus 42. Our freezer in the room is minus 5. So we just keep it there. It's frozen. When you want to use it the next day, you bring it out the day before, and it stays before it's stored. So Gabriel is looking at the. Oh, come on, Edmund Sottie, focus and let's talk. Add more science. All right, next, please. Yes, guinea fowl. I'm sure most of you, the guinea fowl you know is this one. Okay. There are different strains of guinea fowls. And we have all these strains. And one interesting thing about the guinea fowl is the kit mortality. That's the chicks. How do you manage them? And we've developed technologies in managing the kits. So we reduce the kit mortality. Then the brooding process. How do they brood? They use the natural brooding. Can we use other forms of brooding in hatching and all those things? And by the way, we have a hatchery at our institute. If someone wants to go into serious day-old chick production, you can talk to us. We have a hatchery. The capacity is 5,000, 10,000. We have a hatchery capacity that is about 10,000 eggs. Oh, come on, I've underestimated it. 30,000 capacity. We don't have those. We are a government institution. Sometimes are not able to set eggs that much. But if you want, we can talk about it and we can. Yeah, so this guinea fowls, it's something that you can, they are a delicacy. There is always lean meat. So far, I've not seen guinea fowl that has any fat on it. But you see, the thing looks big. By the time you remove the feathers, then the whole thing becomes taggy. You wonder, where did all the thing go? But that is also an industry that we can explore, the feathers. Go and research about the feathers. What can we use them for? If we have, some people go and they are unique. How do we harness the feathers? I'll talk about the rabbits. And when we skin it, the rabbit, the skin, the hide is so beautiful. Someone can decide that I want to go into an industry of just harnessing rabbit. When we have so many people go into rabbitry, all I'll do is I'll buy off the hides from them and process it and export it. They should use it for their jackets and their wool. And when you go out there, certain fabric like winter jackets are very pricey. You buy one made from wildlife like ferrets, it's very expensive because they are not, and people are against it because they are wildlife. But if you have rabbit that is farmed, it can be used and they are very beautiful. All right, so let's go to the next slide. Micro livestock. Let me quickly touch on this, then we'll be done. So rabbits. When I was a kid, I used to say rabbit. And I'm sure some adults still say it. These ones will give you about an average 6 bunnies per liter. And the mortality, well managed, very minimal. They take good care of their kids. If a mother is a poor mother, my friend, just kill it. Just let it go. It can be good for table. So you can take good care of them, and they are easy to manage. When you have the hatch and you have the caging within a small space, and in a year, you can mate them or cross them for about 6 times. But the issue, like I always say, the marketing side of things. I'm talking, you'll be motivated. I want to go into rabbitry. Please, before you go, look at the marketing side of it. We need protein, we need it, but you have to look at, if it's business, you have to look at the marketing side of things. Yeah, how cute it is, and how adorable when we chew it. Yes, grasscutter. Charles, are you there? Oh, you are there. You don't want them to see your head again. Okay, you just remain there. All right. My former director, he did all his studies on grasscutter to the PhD level. We were part of the domestication of the grass cutter. It's in the wild. People love it. It's a delicacy. How do we domesticate it to make sure it becomes part of our daily thing? And we worked on it and we domesticated it. And we had so many farmers go into it. And it's very easy to manage. You can feed it on even concentrate. Get a little herbage here and there and add to it. Let's go to the next one. Animal health and meat. You showed the slide too quickly. You see, we are talking of production side of things, but we need to also think about what we consume as consumers and as producers. You want to ensure that when you produce, you are producing something that is wholesome, that is healthy, that when I consume, I will not fall sick. When you consume, you will not fall sick. And we research into some of these things. Let's go to the next slide. Let me show you something. For some of us, we slaughter animals anywhere, everywhere, and we consume meat anywhere, anyhow, anywhere. I visited a slaughtering facility recently, and they are still using lorry ties, car ties to burn the animal. And for some of us, we don't mind. That is how they've been doing it. So when we go, why? Or if they don't use the lorry tie, they smear kerosene on the skin and they burn. So you want it quickly. So you want it fast. You know, these are hard metals. You're talking of lead. The liver cannot break these things down. And we consume it. And we say, oh, my ponchikakra joint. And they do it, and we all consume, and we are satisfied. And we take toothpick, and we are gone. Who inspected that meat before you consumed it? Look at this. We are talking of the lungs filled with tuberculosis. I can assure you, you can cook this till it burns. It won't kill it. I'm not scaring you, but I'm telling you the reality. That, you know, in our part of the world, we consume every part of the meat. We call it nyama, intestines, towel, all those things. And when you go, you want part of it as part of the meat. So they give you part. Who examined it? Before an animal is slaughtered, we have what we call the antemortem examination, which a qualified veterinarian or a vet technician will have to do. We have to examine the animal and say that this animal is wholesome for slaughter. When it is slaughtered, we have what we call the post-mortem examination. They look at the major organs and satisfy themselves that this is wholesome before you consume. When you slaughter it at home, who examines any part of it? Do you even know what you are looking for? They go to be coughing and they say, oh, the backside is all diarrhea. He said, oh, the animal will die. Let's consume it. Let's cook it. The nose is running. The eyes are tearing. Let's hurry up and consume it. Let's go to the next slide. See, we are talking of tuberculosis. So you can have tuberculosis from the cattle to human beings. The next slide, please. Cyst. Next slide. I'm not scaring you. I'm not saying you should not eat. But let's do the right thing. Let's begin to educate those who slaughter the animals. When we go to, there are times you go to the market. The animal that was slaughtered in the morning, without any chilling, they bring it to the table. And they'll be cutting 1 kilo, 1 pound, 1 kilo, 1 pound. At the end of the day, what is left, they go and put in the fridge. They bring it the next day, they start. Then when it stayed for 2 days, then they take it and do kebab with it. Then you consume the kebab and you get stomach abscess, and you've been wondering, where from the stomach abscess? We need to begin to change things in this country. In fact, and it should start with you, that you will tell that guy who sells that meat at the table, who examined that animal before you are selling it. He will insult you, I know. He will be wondering, are you coming from Mars? Where are you coming from? These Bukulon people. But you know, interestingly, in our laws, the health laws, the health what laws? What should I add to the health? Public health law act, slaughtering of animals at home or on certified places is illegal. So how many of you should be in jail by now? I'll be fine. How many of us? I'm also a victim. Let's go to the next slide, please. I'll finish in. And this one, sorry. Anthrax. It is a no-no. I'm sure you've heard of anthrax. It is something that when it happens on your farm or you've heard of it, please don't open the animal. Please don't, when you see blood oozing from the nose, from the other orifices, please don't open the animal. Call a vet or incinerate the animal or bury it completely. Please, but let a vet know, because it is something that when you open it and the spores get out, we are all in danger. All right, let's slide, please. Okay, so only buy meat, examine, and certify. The next slide, please. Value addiction, I'll just quickly mention some of these things. We've talked about the yogurt that we do. Let's go to the pasteurized milk. Yes, talking about the solar drying of fish and meat. So we have this technology. We dry this meat. You can season the meat, do everything, and put it under this in the solar dryer, in the tray, into the solar dryer, and this is how it will come out. The fish will come out. No health. In fact, we determine the microbial load and everything. No microbial load, because they were dried under very good hygienic conditions. No tar, to which some of them are carcinogenic and all those things. You don't want to. When I talk of carcinogenic, they can give cancer. You don't want some of these things to be on your fish and your meat. Next one, please. That's the meat, the dried meat from the solar dryer meat. Next slide. So this is we did the microbial analysis, bacteria, fungi, and they were all below there were none. Then we have what we have developed as the ARI smoker. So I told you about our smoked pork. We have it. We use LPG gas, smoke it, then we pass the wood. We want the wood, you want the wood thing on it, so we pass the wood into it, and it gives it that flavor. Please, next slide. Slaughter and dressing of livestock. Give me the next slide, and I'm sure I won't have to even talk. So that is what happens. Okay, all right, the next slide. So we teach people even hide removal. When you slaughter, how do you remove the hide from so that it doesn't contaminate the meat, sorry. The next one, please. And at our facility, we have a slaughterhouse. It's open to the public. You can bring your animal this Christmas if you want us to slaughter for a small fee. Very hygienic place, always kept clean. And we will slaughter and make sure that your meat is packaged nicely for you. The next slide. And we have laboratory services, analytical and diagnostic laboratories. If you want your feed analyzed for you to determine the nutritional qualities, and if there are diagnostic issues, your birds are dying and you are not sure what it is, maybe the vet service is too far, we have diagnostic laboratories. You can come to us and we can diagnose your issues for you. Yeah, thank you very much. And I happen to take care of these animals, and this animal, one could be about 650 kg. Thank you very much.
Wow, thank you.